Good morning and happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. As always, I'm here to help you break down the NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Tonight's slate locks at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have a nice 9-game slate here, so plenty of great options to choose from. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. That helps us fight those YouTube algorithms so we could get more free content like this back to you. Additionally, if you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. You get access to the model I'll be using in this video here that you see before you. Also, we have a single lineup builder, a multi-lineup builder, a private Discord server where you can access DFS pros to help you improve your game, which includes a 30-minute window leading up to each slate's lock where you could ask your lineup specific questions. So yeah, 9 games here. I like to go game by game, so we got to go really quick today. I did just get the 10:30 a.m. injury report. Was waiting on that to get started, so let's hammer these out. First game on the slate. We have the Atlanta Hawks at the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks are 2.5 point favorites at home. So no real injury news on the Atlanta side at all. They just have a G Leaguer listed as out, so no big deal there. On Dallas, Luka is probable. Dorian Finney-Smith is questionable. Josh Green is questionable. Tim Hardaway Jr. is out, and Maxi Kleber is out. So Atlanta, they look fine here. They are healthy though. Clint Capella is back in the lineup, so Okongwu isn't nearly as interesting as he has been. If his price continues to dip, we could play him as a backup, but as things stand, he's just not someone we could prioritize. Don't mind Capella, still working his way back from an injury, though. I doubt I get there much, even though it is a great matchup for the front court. John Collins' price is back down. Only 5,600 on DK certainly feels too cheap. I like him a lot there. But yeah, both Trey Young and DeJounte Murray are fine options here. But as you can see in the ownership, this just isn't a great matchup, and this team is fully healthy for the first time pretty much all season, so there's no priorities for me on Atlanta. Over on the Dallas side, we have Luka up top, drawing a lot of ownership. No surprise there. Whenever he's healthy, he's going to be popular. But with Tim Hardaway Jr. out, and a couple of others, he's seeing even more usage than usual. Not that he needs it, but he is probably my favorite pay up on both sites. I'm going to click him in, just pencil him in quickly here. Let's see if FanDuel's even loading. But yeah, I like to kind of slowly build as we walk through these. Just give you guys kind of a look at where I'm getting started on both sites. But yeah, I mean, no major priorities for me on Dallas other than Luka. Christian Wood certainly looks fine. If Finney Smith is back in the lineup, who's listed as questionable, I could see going there maybe as a punt. But really not someone I'm trusting first game back. And at the same time, even when he's healthy, he's not the best fantasy producer. So Luka's the star here. Don't mind a couple pieces from Atlanta, but I think we're going to find better value throughout the slate in both the mid and low range of prices. So moving into the next game on the slate now, we have the New York Knicks at the Washington Wizards. No, the Wizards are at the Knicks. The Knicks are 6.5 point favorites at home in the Garden. 222.5 point total here. So yeah, Bradley Beal is questionable. He's been out for the past few games. If he's back tonight, that's going to make Washington tough to get to. We've been going to Kuzma and Porzingis a lot with Beal out of the lineup, but as Beal returns, their prices are going to feel a bit inflated. In that same breath, though, we are seeing KP down below 9K on both sites now. I think he's viable even with Beal in. Don't mind him here against his former team. Not really calling for revenge or anything like that, but he is just priced favorably in a good matchup. So that alone makes me like him. If Beal's out, obviously Kuzma and Porzingis are going to look a lot better here. Would prefer Porzingis of the two. Monte Morris would become a viable option as well. The one guy who I am kind of interested in a healthy Washington team right now is Daniel Gafford. He's been starting at center. There are better value options at center on the slate, but I don't mind Gafford. He's not really affected by the Beal usage. He's cleaning up a lot of what's going on in the post, so don't mind him here, but really no priorities. Just another healthy team on a slate with a few teams that are banged up. So it's just going to be tough to prioritize anything there. Over on the next side, just a couple G Leaguers. not with the team, so nothing really to write home about. Similar situation, this team is healthy, so it's tough to really prioritize anything. Quickly and Grimes are no longer relevant now that RJ Barrett is back to playing his full minutes. Jalen Brunson's probably my favorite piece from this team just because Randall's very expensive. But even so, guards loaded tonight, so there's nothing here I'm really forcing. So Knicks Wizards, decent game, better matchup for the Knicks, but I don't really like any pieces from this one. Moving into the next game on the slate in the 8 o'clock window, we have the Charlotte Hornets against the Houston Rockets. The Rockets are 2.5 point underdogs at home. We have a massive 237-point game total here, so certainly a high game total. On the Charlotte side, we have Gordon Hayward doubtful, Cody Martin doubtful, Kelly Oubre out, Theo Maledon out, and James Bouknight is out as well. So Charlotte's banged up, especially on the wing and in terms of their backcourt depth. As a result, we're seeing LaMelo Ball popular on both sites. He's certainly my favorite Hornet here. You're getting him at 9,600 on both sites, which is an excellent price. Mason Plumlee, only 6,300 on DK. Not a good defender, but he's been excellent offensively. And in a matchup like this one with Houston, I do think he's someone you could consider. Don't mind Terry Rozier. Wouldn't call him a priority, though. He's priced about where he should be. Same with PJ Washington and Jalen McDaniels, who are seeing increased usage with Oubre and Hayward out, but neither are really options I'm rushing to. I do really like Plumlee on ZK, and I like LaMelo Ball on both sites. Could see maybe getting to Washington or McDaniels, but neither are priorities for me. Over on the Houston side, still. Oh, Kevin Porter Jr. is now questionable. He's been out the past few games. We've seen big games from Green and Sengun in his absence, kind of not on the same night, but both have been better for sure. They're both seeing increased usage. Last game, Sengun went off like insanely. Let me just pull him up quickly. Let's see here. Don't want to spend too much time clicking through players today. We got a lot of games to get through, but I think Sengun's the exception to that rule. Yeah, we saw this was 2 nights ago. 33 real points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 blocks, 70 fantasy points for Alperen Sengun. He is the most talented player on this Rockets roster. I think everyone's talking about it this week. The thing is, they're tanking, so why run the offense through him? But I like him here. I think it's a great matchup against Charlotte, but certainly he's more appealing with Kevin Porter out of the lineup. So I don't know that I'm going to get to him tonight. I think a lot of people are going to chase those points that he put up last game. I don't think that's something we can rely on, but he is still sub 8K on both sites. And when you know he has that type of ceiling, he's someone you're going to want to consider. If Porter's out again, I'll get to more Sengun. And also, Jalen Green's going to look really good here if Porter's out. But if Porter's back in, I think they're all good plays in a good matchup, but no major priorities. The other guy to keep an eye on is KJ Martin if Porter sits again, but his price is up on both sides. So I'm really not rushing to get to him there either. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers against the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's see here. The Grizzlies are 7.5 point favorites at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers. On the Cleveland side, Donovan Mitchell is doubtful. Obviously, that's a major piece of news. Assuming he is out of the game tonight, Darius Garland's going to look great on both sites. That should also mean we see Karis LeVert slide into the starting lineup. You're seeing that ownership going to him. If I'm just penciling in a couple guys here, I do consider LeVert to be one that we want to get on early and often. Again, that is as long as Donovan Mitchell is out of the lineup. So yeah, let me just click over. Let's get some LeVert. Yeah, so Luka LeVert, this is kind of where I'm starting in the backcourt. But yeah, he looks great here. Obviously, Garland looks excellent on both sides. He is priced up to 8K, though, which is about where he should be in a tough matchup with Mitchell out of the lineup. If we see Kevin Love slide into the starting lineup, he's going to look really good as value. But yeah, for me, I trust LeVert more than those other wings, Love and Osman, and it's going to be tough to want to get to more than one or two of them here, just because Memphis is a tough matchup defensively. But again, Mobley, Allen, they look fine in the front court. Rubio's back; he hasn't really played a ton of minutes yet. I don't think we have to worry about it here. Just make sure LeVert's starting. I do trust him a lot more if he's in the starting lineup. And then obviously Darius Garland's going to be a solid play with Donovan Mitchell again out tonight. So Memphis, on the Memphis side, not seeing any major injury news. It looks like Tillman's back from the G League. They also promoted Vince Williams. But no, nothing else we really need to write home about. But you can see that reflect in the ownership. Just another one of these teams that they're going to be really tough to get to when they're healthy. Obviously, Jaw's a fine play. Don't mind Steven Adams, especially on DK at 6K flat. Bain, Brooks, Jones, Jackson, they're all kind of okay to mix in if you're playing a bunch of lineups, but none of them are priorities for me here at all. So tough matchup with Cleveland. Cleveland very slow and a defensive team. So not the best game environment for Memphis, and they're healthy, so it's just tough to get to them here. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have, where are they? Excuse me, the Pacers at the Thunder. The Thunder are actually 4-point favorites at home. Been winning a lot of games lately. 239.5 point game total here, so a massive, massive total. We'll start with Indiana. Still no Tyrese Halliburton. That's obviously the big piece of news. TJ McConnell's been going off every single game, but he's not really playing as many minutes as you would expect. So there is some merit to maybe fading him in tournaments on DK where he's priced at 7,800 on FanDuel now. That's just an easy fade. You don't have to go to him there. But on DraftKings, where he's still only 5,500, I do think he's one of the better guard plays with Halliburton out of the lineup. So for me, only on DK, I'm going to click on McConnell here, add him in as my third guard. But obviously, there's a ton of good guard plays on this slate, so you don't have to stay locked in on Garland. Not Garland, excuse me, McConnell. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, we're looking at the likes of Buddy Hield, who looks solid, certainly playable on both sites, unlike TJ McConnell. Miles Turner coming off a really solid game. I'm fine getting to him here. Nemhard, Mathurin as secondary options. They're all priced better on DK, except for Mathurin, who is cheaper on FanDuel. So maybe Mathurin's who you go to on FanDuel if you're playing Pacers. He's been really solid, and we've seen these guys kind of grow in confidence with Halliburton out. I think it's going to be good for this team actually that he's missed a few weeks because some of these guys just weren't getting the usage they need to kind of keep their shots consistent. And now when Halliburton comes back, hopefully they can keep that going. So I do like Mathurin here. Once Halliburton's back, all these guys are going to be overpriced. But as things stand, you can get to Nemhard, you can get to Mathurin, you can get to McConnell on DK, Healed on both sites, and Turner on both sites. Indiana, great, great spot to target tonight for sure. OKC's been good, but it's not a defense you really have to fear. On the OKC side of the ball, still no Poku, still no Robinson Earl. They're banged up in the front court. No surprises there. So keep an eye on who's starting. If we see Jalen Williams with an eye or Mike Muscala starting at center, they're going to be appealing. As things stand, I don't really trust either. But if they do slide in the starting lineup, I would consider either or. Lou Dort's drawing a lot of ownership. He's fine here. He's just a little bit too cheap on both sides. 4,800 on DK at a thin small forward position. I can see getting to him. So maybe I'll click him in just because it is a tough position to fill, and he is sub 5K and makes it so we could probably get a second pay up with Luca. So I don't mind Lou Dort. Definitely not as interested on FanDuel at 5,500. Josh Giddey's fine on both sides. Really high ceiling for a guard in that range. But with SGA healthy, he's tough to prioritize. It's tough to prioritize Giddey, but I do like him, and I do like SGA as tournament plays. They're both fine. Don't hate Jalen Williams without an I, Jalen Williams with an E, but not someone I'm rushing to get to. So really, it is SGA and Giddey here, and then Dort on DK at 4,800. Not someone I'm expecting a ton of fantasy points out of, but in a matchup like this, he could probably pick up a few steals. He's playing the minutes, and he's just a little bit too cheap. So moving into the next game on the slate, making good pace today, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. We have the Miami Heat at the New Orleans Pelicans. The Heat are 3-point favorites on the road. We'll start with Miami here. As is always the case, they have an extensive injury report. We have Kyle Lowry is questionable. Caleb Martin is probable. Duncan Robinson, Omer Yurtseven are both out. Nikola Jovic is out. Jamal Cain is out. Udonis Haslam is out. So actually, there's a lot of guys in the report, but no major injury news here. If they do get Lowry back, that's going to hurt guys like Butler and Bam and Hero in terms of usage. So this is just another one of those teams. They're all okay, but they're all priced where they should be. It's really tough to pick anyone out as a priority here. We are seeing Bam getting decent ownership over on FanDuel. That's because he has power forward eligibility over there. I don't mind Jimmy Butler at 8,700 on DK, but with Hero back and likely Lowry back, he's not someone I would be prioritizing at all. So over on the New Orleans side of the ball, obviously still dealing with some injuries over there. Zion Williamson is out. Brandon Ingram is out. Herb Jones is doubtful. So Najee Marshall is going to be one of the more popular plays on the slate once again. His price actually came down. He is sub 6K on both sites. Jose Alvarado's been super effective lately. As long as he's starting a point guard, I do like him a lot. I know we already filled the guard spots on DK, but yeah, I would be looking at Alvarado here for sure. At just 4,400. So yeah, you can kind of move things around. You don't need to force all these guards, but this is just how I'm kind of clicking through. So, and then Najee Marshall, who I mentioned, I think he looks great here on both sites. I'll actually click him over on FanDuel as well. Don't want to build a full lineup for you guys. I think that's against terms of service, but at the same time, it's pretty easy just to start with the core, just going off the injury report. Really like Najee Marshall here. Really like Jose Alvarado. Jonas Valanciunas, obviously a massive ceiling if you want to get there in tournaments. Totally fine with him. If Dyson Daniels starts, I think he's a decent piece of value to consider. Same with Trey Murphy. With Herb Jones out, his minutes are a bit more secure. And then CJ McCollum, haven't talked about him yet, but with Ingram and Zion both out of the lineup, he's obviously super appealing here as well. So a lot to like in New Orleans. Not crazy about the Heat here, though, as they are healthy. So let's move into the next game on the slate. We have the Clippers at the Jazz. I don't know if they're at the Jazz. The report, yeah, they are. The Clippers are at the Jazz. The Jazz are 5.5 point favorites at home. 227.5 point game total here. I'm going to talk about the Clippers first. Their injury report is not out yet today. No surprise there. This is a back-to-back. They have already ruled Paul George out though. I'm imagining. Kawhi sits as well. He hasn't been playing on back-to-backs. If he's in, obviously he's going to look great with George out of the lineup. But assuming he's out, we're going to like a lot of the other Clippers tonight. So with Kawhi and George out, we're going to have to look to guys like Norm Powell. Terrence Mann, if he's in, is going to look really good. Who else? Marcus Morris, even. So you can get some of these mid-range Clippers in your lives on both sites. It's going to help you kind of fill out your lineup with some of those tougher positions. But yeah, I don't think you have to force anything. Norm Powell would certainly be my favorite Clipper, followed by Morris. Man, even Batum, if he starts, he looks solid, just really cheap. So keep an eye on this one. This is definitely a major piece of news. This is where you're going to be getting a lot of your value tonight. No Paul George and likely no Kawhi either. But again, the injury report has not yet been released, so this is one we have to keep an eye on. Good reason to get in that occupied Discord if you're not already. Over on the Utah Jazz side of things, let's see here. We have Lauri Markkanen questionable. Kelly Olynyk is still out. So first and foremost, with Olynyk out, I really like Walker Kessler on DK. He is overpriced on FanDuel, flat out. I can't pay 7,900 for him, even with Olynyk out of the lineup. So let me click off a couple guys. I mean, I don't want to put a full lineup here, but you guys kind of see where I'm going. Really like Walker Kessler on DK. Outstanding play over there. For some reason, not drawing much ownership either. Laurie, if Laurie's in, he looks good. Definitely better on FanDuel where he's only 8,200. If Laurie is out, we can look to Jordan Clarkson. We can look to Malik Beasley. Mike Conley's fine. He's still cheap. Not the best fantasy producer, but under 6K. I do like him on both sites. But really, it would be Beasley I'd be prioritizing, followed by Clarkson, and then Walker Kessler over on DK. On FanDuel, there's no major priorities here. But if Laurie's out, everyone I mentioned does look good, as does Jarrett Vanderbilt. But yeah, a decent spot for the Jazz here against the Clippers on a back-to-back. Should be a competitive game. I kind of think Laurie plays tonight. If he's in, no one looks that great except for Kessler on DK and Laurie himself on FanDuel. But again, if he's out, we're going to need to get some Malik Beasley, Jordan Clarkson, and likely even some Colin Sexton involved in our lives as well. So decent game environment there for sure. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Denver Nuggets at the Minnesota Timberwolves. Or, the injury report has this flipped. I'm sorry, guys. The Timberwolves are at the Nuggets. The Nuggets are 8 point favorites at home, 236.5 point total here. Um, Really good game environment. I mean, the big piece of news, let's start with Minnesota, is Rudy Gobert is questionable. If Gobert is out, Naz Reid is going to become one of the best plays on the entire slate. So kind of waiting for that ball to drop. I actually think he sits tonight. It's groin soreness. It was an injury he sustained 2 games ago, and he left last game hurt and didn't come back. So that tells me maybe they should be cautious with him here. But yeah, if he's out, that's going to be a huge, huge boost to Naz Reid. If Gobert's in, I probably wouldn't go there against Denver. Just he hasn't been good, and it is an injured Gobert who's probably just on the court for pride at this point. I don't know. He's been terrible. But Anthony Edwards looks solid here. Fine with D'Angelo Russell as well. Neither are major priorities, but they're both strong tournament plays at low ownership. But again, the big piece of news we're waiting on is Rudy Gobert. If he's out, Naz Reid becomes one of the best plays on the slate. On the Denver side of the ball, they're on a back-to-back. No injury news yet. If Jokic were to sit, obviously all the other starters become very interesting. Jamal Murray was questionable all day and then ended up playing. If he's out tonight and Bones Highland is in, Highland's going to look excellent. If both of those guys are out, Bruce Brown and KCP are going to look excellent. So just keep an eye on this one. No injury report as things stand. I think they're going to play everyone, but say Gobert's ruled out, maybe they say, hey, maybe we could finally give Jokic a night off on the back-to-back, and they do so, in which case all the other starters are going to become more appealing. But yeah, as things stand, I'm not forcing anything. I'm expecting Gobert to sit, but I don't want to lock and read until we get that news officially. So moving into the last game on the board here, we have the Los Angeles Lakers at the Sacramento Kings. LeBron's listed as questionable. Still no Austin Reeves. Still no Lonnie Walker. I personally think LeBron plays. He's listed as questionable almost every night. So if LeBron's in, he's a solid pay up. If he's out, Westbrook and Schroeder are going to look better. I don't mind Westbrook on either side as a tournament play. 9K on DK is tough to stomach, though. Really not getting too much over there. Um, but yeah, he's fine. I mean, Thomas Bryant with AD still out, he's drawing no ownership as a $6,100 center on both sides. I do like him here, but really it's LeBron for me if he's in, and not much else that I'm loving on LA. On the Sacramento side of the ball, no major injury news, so they're another team who's kind of priced where they should be. But at the same time, I do like some pieces here. Sabonis has been excellent. Love getting to him. De'Aaron Fox is fine. There's better guard plays, but he's also coming in about 1 or 2K cheaper than those other top guards. So Sabonis is the priority. Don't mind Malik Monk. Would prefer he start. He mostly comes off the bench though. The other kind of mid-range piece I'm getting to a lot is Harrison Barnes. And Keegan Murray, his price just doesn't come up on either site. He's been consistently hitting value, so he's another play I'd be looking at. So just to quickly review everything, sorting by ownership here, no real surprises. I mean, we're seeing these Clipper guys pop even without that Kawhi news yet. I think everyone knows he's going to sit tonight. So Powell, Morris, they're going to look great. Terrence Mann if he starts at point guard. Plumlee looks really good on DK. And then yeah, I mean, Levert's going to look good on both sites. No Donovan Mitchell. Love Luca, as is always the case. Najee Marshall with New Orleans still banged up. There's a ton of good plays on the slate, and I expect we get more throughout the day. Once again, my name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Um, and yeah, if you haven't already signed up to Occupy Fantasy, check the links in the description below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's have some fun tonight, everyone, and make some money. Good luck. Take care.